So the first film we watched was Ya Hanui, and it was a 3-minute film. Remember, the baby finally said mama at the end. Very emotional. And then we had Sins of a Father and Murder in Mind. And this we just watched was Stuck. And thankfully, we have the producer of Stuck here with us. So with a round of applause, let's welcome Mr. Ekunwe. Please, a round of applause for him. He also, took another role in the film. I'm sure when you see his face, you'd realize who he was in the film. A round of applause for him, Mr. Desmond Ekunwe. Hello, hello. So we can have a seat and then we can have a conversation.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Oh, I thought there was another microphone here. Okay, so you're bringing it right here. So, the film we just watched was Stuck, and it was produced by Desmond, like I mentioned. So this is the synopsis. In a dystopian near future, a German journalist deported under a fascist regime re-migration pact is stranded in Nigeria, battling dehumanizing bureaucracy and forced to confront the limits of pride and morality in his desperate attempt to reunite with his family in Ghana. And this was directed by Johannes, who unfortunately cannot be here with us tonight, but I'm sure he's here in spirit because indeed, he is married to a Ghanaian. It's not just fiction, he's married to a Ghanaian, so the spirit is here definitely for the festival. But I'm excited to have you here, and let's talk about the film, the making of the film. I know that, or a little bit whispered to me somewhere in the audience, that this was not just just happened or a happenstance. How did this particular production come together?
Hello everyone, once again, thank you so much for the opportunity to screen Stock and also just have conversations about the film. So first off, disclaimer, the film has a lot of German nuance that a lot of us, because of our context, as either Ghanaian or myself being Nigerian, would laugh at it, but then it's the reality of a lot of Germans when watching the film. I remember the first time it screened, all the Germans in the room teared up, they were crying. And then all the Nigerians were laughing because we couldn't really get it, because it's their true reality, because there's a racist organization growing and brewing in the German society that is gaining more power, and then there was the election in February, and we just thought it was important to tell the film. So speaking to back to your question, why it was important to, how the production came about. We were a team of 15 people made up of about 8 Ghanaians, 8 Germans and 8 Nigerians who had met up for a residency. And then we decided to tell a story on sickle cell, which is an important story in a Nigerian context. But then we also did think that what story would be important to tell in the German context, and we decided to tell this. We made this in a day in Benin City, and it was just one of those things which speaks to the importance of collaborations between Nigeria and the Western diaspora.
Interesting. So this happened, you said, after a fellowship, or it's more or less like a... So how was that? And how did that happen that we had some Germans on board? And of course, I'm sure it happened in Nigeria because you said Benin City, so I'm thinking it's Nigeria. So how did that come about?
That came about by majorly just applying, and the German government and the Film Academy Baden-Württemberg being very generous to sponsor some Nigerians and some Germans for an exchange program to speak on how to make better films, both in the Nigerian and the German context. So they have this program called the International Class, where people from Africa travel to Germany for an exchange for about 6 months. But then they also have another exchange program called the Nollywood Workshop, which they organize every year. I think it's opening in a few weeks for filmmakers to collaborate with Germans and make a film. So that's what we did, and we're together for 7 weeks. And it taught me, it was a very eye-opening experience because it taught me a lot of differences working, because sometimes in the Nigerian context we speak, I can shoot 30 scenes a day. But then you see the German do 4 scenes and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? We need to rest, we need to plan. We know what's the plan. So it did make me rethink the idea of storytelling around quality and really looking for the heart of the story.
Okay, so we're talking about quality and the heart of the story, but then you had one day to film in Benin City. How did that happen? Take us through a pictorial view of the day. When did you go on set? When was call time? And when did you end shooting?
So because it rains a lot in Benin City at the time, we started shooting at about 6 a.m. So we knew that based on the weather report that it was going to rain from like 10, and we knew we wanted to take some certain shots. So we started filming at 6 a.m. in the morning. We took a break at 10 because Germans don't joke with their breaks. So we took a break at 10 and we were back on set by 2. But then the cinematographer, Lovelyn, who's a Nigerian, she took time out to make some of the B-rolls. You saw the fan movement, the raindrops and all of that while we were resting, and the actor and the director was also resting as well. So that's majorly what happened. And yeah, it was a really long day. We wrapped about 10 in the night? 10 p.m. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was a really long day. Everybody complained. The Nigerians loved it. The Germans were like, waiting the apple. But yeah, it was a good experience.
All right, before I continue, I see some people standing there. If you could just take your seats and let's continue the conversation. And also, if you have any questions, we'll open the phone lines in a couple of minutes. But so, producing a film in one day and then also starring in it, I can imagine that your scene may have had to be done maybe in post-production, or how was it done really? You being Mr. Reporter, you know, and still being a producer on set. I always like to sample people's views on playing multiple roles on film sets.
So, to be honest, my scene was supposed to be a placeholder to somewhat tell what it was supposed to be like, but then we ended up using it, maybe because I'm super talented. But then seeing it, I was like, what's this? Because it was supposed to be replaced. But then, yeah, it was easy. It was easy working together with, especially telling a story that is not your own. Because again, we're always stuck on I want to tell this type of story, I want to tell this type of story. But then when you're trying to tell a story that's very delicate with certain people, there's an amount of care. And with the people that were on set, like every Nigerian really wanted to be a part of this important German story, even though we did not understand it. In the same way they did not understand our sickle cell story that we're telling as well. So that was like a key point for the program, because it felt like if you mess this up, then what's the point of the cross program? So, and me being producer, I cannot mess up now. It's a heavy responsibility. So we had to print a lot of stuff. We had to get food to people early. And BTW, I'm so Gen Z, God. I just said BTW.
By the way.
Apologies. By the way, if I tell you the budget of this film, you're gonna surprise.
Please tell me the budget.
I don't know how. By Nigerian money, it's 100,000.
100,000 naira.
We made it with 100K.
10,000 cities?
No.
1,000 cities. 1,000 cities. Wow.
Yeah.
It's less than 1,000. Oh, please.
It's about
$70
or something like that.
Yes.
$70.
So that's interesting. And you're all able to feed the crew.
Yeah.
Okay, you were in Benin City, so I'm guessing that no offense, but I'm guessing the cost of living over there is cheaper.
Yeah. So
yes.
So we did have some equipment sponsored by Ari.
Okay.
And the Film Academy back in Gothenburg. But outside that, every other thing was just people wanting to make a film. and collaborating to make it work. Printing stuff, papers, getting food, transportation was all under 100,000. So if we collaborate, we can do much more.
So you heard that, guys. If we collaborate, we can do much. I'm sure there are a number of filmmakers in the audience. When we are done with the program, make sure to connect with someone, network. You never know where your next film can come from. So I'm opening it up to the audience. If you have any questions, the producer is here. Okay, so I see your hand there.
Hi, hello everyone. I'd just like to say thank you so much for this film. I actually found it to be quite terrifying. I'm American and I saw a lot of parallels with what Trump is actively doing right now. So yeah, I found it uncomfortable to watch in certain ways. And I wanted to ask you, at the very beginning, you mentioned how when you played it in a room of German people, they were quite, quiet and very, very affected by the films. Which, meanwhile, those of us who are not German nationals, there are certain nuances that we may have missed. So I'd like to ask you to point out some of those nuances for us so that we can have a deeper understanding of this film.
Okay, first off, the Germans have a very weird relationship with their anthem. So, because of its relationship with Hitler. So, a lot of Germans and the deaths that happened with, from that time, a lot of Germans have distanced themselves from the anthem. So that's one of the things. So every time you sing the anthem, it feels like, oh my God, these are the things that my ancestors did to these people around the world. And every time that you see Free Palestine, all these Jewish conversations and all these many conversations, they are reminded of the things that their ancestors did. So it's a touchy conversation for them. Personally, I would not claim to understand the full extent of it, but then, because I'm not German, but then at every point, it felt like press and play. Like, whenever Johannes was having a take of the anthem, you see Lisa crying out, I'm like, what's going on? So it was just, yeah, that's one of the nuances, one of the themes I think I can remember.
Okay, do we have any other questions? So before we take the next question, how was it like for him shooting that scene?
It was very personal because, again, it was really close to the elections. They had an election in February, I remember. And this racist organization, they have multiple parties, I think about 5 major parties in Germany, but one of the racist parties that pushes for ideologies like this, which is like the German people above all, or Germany over everything, is gaining more seats and more power in the German context. So in his head, it's like, if you people are not saying this thing is really close to us. Just the same way she mentioned that for Americans with Trump, it's not like the reality. It's like, this is happening, whether we like it or not. More of these racist people and racist organizations are taking power. And if we do not stop them, in 10 years, this might be our situation that Germans who have maybe partners in Ghana, like he did, will be stuck far away from their partners or torn apart from their partners because they did not pledge allegiance to this racist organization.
Interesting. Do we have any other? Okay. See this one hand. Can we have her and we'll come to him also.
Hi. So, wonderful film. I love it, and I'm a big fan of indie filmmaking and indigenous stories because you can't tell what you would achieve with very, very little. So, and I'm big on collaborations as well. So beyond stock, where does this lead? Because sometimes we collaborate and we do these things and everybody scatters. Because collaboration has to be ongoing for it to last longer. Because after one film, what's going to happen to the filmmaker? Are we still going to come back and make more films? So I wanted to ask from the team that worked on this wonderful project, what's next? Are we expecting further collaboration from them, or is it expanding? So that's.
So what next? These people are already back in Germany, and then we've kept conversations, and everybody's excited when I sent pictures of this to the WhatsApp group. Hopefully we have, which is something that I do think, and which is why I'm very grateful that Accra Indie Filmfest did pick this film, and then we're speaking to, even the partnership Accra Indie Filmfest has with the French government for this. We need more collaborations, because we see a lot of people leaving it at just the indie space, which is like, oh, my personal money, I pulled certain resources. But when you have backings like we did, you're able to create more, you're able to now understand more people, we're able to tell more global stories, as against stories based on our own context, or like small bubbles and all of that. So I do think that next year, I do hope I get into the international class. Fingers crossed. And then I'll be a part of the exchange in Germany. But outside that, it's just keeping in touch. I shared a script of mine that I'm working with, of Apples and Trees, with these people to get their thoughts on if it was global enough, like if you, which was why I think the second film really touched me. I like themes on father and sons, like the playing on that relationship, which my film is about, and I just wanted to get their opinion on it, if it connected to them enough. So those type of conversations are what we are having now, till I make money, enough money to do the needful.
All right, so can we have our next question?
Yeah. Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
Film is all about content, and this concept, I mean, I'd like to know who collaborated. Was this a joint collaboration for script writing, or who wrote the script? Is it just a Nigerian or German or a combination of both? Because this is a very touchy subject.
Okay, it was just a German with a lot of questioning on, you could hear a lot of the Nigerian playing it. It's like, oh, am I saying this right? Is this what would be the best way that a Nigerian would respond to this? So it's just that feedback, but I would say the German writer and the director takes all the credit because he wrote it, and we just collaborated just to make sure that the Nigerian bits were represented correctly.
Yeah, and he is the one who played the lead character,
Yes.
Johannes Cruz, and I mentioned he couldn't make it this year. Hopefully we can have him another year here.
Was he last year?
Yes, he was. 2 years ago, I think. Yes, but then basically the important thing is he is someone that when you meet him and you're having a conversation with him, you hardly even know he's German, because he has, Ghanaian intonations. He can switch really easily, so you can tell he's really imbibed himself into our culture, because he's also married to a Ghanaian.
Love
so I
your
think
wife.
that helps. Exactly, love your wife. Do we have any other questions? Okay, we have one last question over here. Okay.
Good evening once again. Please, my name is Roland Amuzu. I'm going to center on the budget. As we young filmmakers, one thing is that we find it difficult to allocate budget for the shooting and other aspects of the filmmaking. So I want to ask, to make our budgets clear and clean, what are we supposed to look out for whilst we prepare to shoot? That's my question. Thank you very much.
Mr. Producer, over to you.
What are we supposed to look out for when preparing the budget for as an indie producer?
Yes, to kind of clean it up so that it's able to work with 1,000 CDs to make a film.
So, as an indie producer, what I do believe in, if I'm creating a film, I always have two budgets. Even if I make the film with ₦0, there's a sweat budget for it. There's usually a cost. And I do think that indie producers should never sell themselves short. So if you do make the film for like a 100K, like we said, you should still be able to value it because you employed human resources, even though they agreed to work on the film at no cost. You still somewhat write it off. If they can give you an invoice, they do, and then you say 100% off, and you still, but then there's still a fee, and then you can still say this is the worth of the film. So when creating a budget as a producer, you list out the things that you can get for free. So for example, like what does the story require? It requires a house. Am I going to use my house? Am I going to speak to my cousin who has a nicer apartment? So that goes at $0. Then you list a number of things. Am I going to beg? For people who are part of a multi-choice talent factory like we've been, the Nigerians are enjoying now because you just walk into the academy and beg for equipment. So you write that $0 as well. And then you list every line item. So I usually, on my budget my budget document, I have it stated A to Z. First is research and development, second is story, and then it keeps going to the last one, and then I keep drilling down, and then you get the whole breadth of the project, and then you now start begging and saying, because producing, I do not know in the Ghanaian context. In Nigeria, it's a lot of beg. Even if you have $1 million, you still have to beg people. So you know that, okay, I've listed everything, I've done my work, I now have to beg AJ that, what can you help me with? Will you do this for free? Are you available to do this for 3 days and all of that? So that's majorly how to do it.
Yeah, so leveraging on relationships is really important. Like I said, please network because you never know who your next business partner is. It's been great speaking with you.
I want to be your business partner, by the way.
Okay, let's have a conversation after this. So great speaking with you. I've not seen you in a while. The last time was in Nigeria, MTF, but we'll talk back door. And yes, you're going to stay for the rest of the festival?
Yes, I'm here till Tuesday next week, so very excited.
Awesome. So anyone in the audience who has any questions, make sure to come around all through, and then you get a chance to speak to the producer throughout the festival. And if you enjoyed the first 4 films we watched today, then you don't know what's coming your way. You have to be here for the whole week in order to experience AIF 2025. My name is Alice Johnson, AJ for short. Thank you so much. And over to you, Eugene.